The following program contains adult language and themes and is intended for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
I am New York City. Here is my brain of hot sauce, my tobacco teeth, my mattress of bed bug tongue. Legs apart, hand on chin, war on the roof, insults, pointed fingers, push carts, my contraceptives all. Look at my pelvis flushing. I am New York City of blood, police, and fried pies. I rub my docks red with grenadine and jelly madness in a flow of Tokay. My huge skull of pigeons, my seance of peeping toms, my plaited ovaries, excuse me. This is my grime, my thigh of steel spoons and toothpicks. I imitate no one. I am New York City of the brown spit and soft tomatoes. Give me my confetti of flesh, my marquee of false nipples, my sideshow of open beaks, in my nose of soot, in my ox-bled eyes, in my ear of Saturday night specials. I eat ha-ha, he, and ho-ho. I am New York City. Never change, never sleep, never melt. My shoes are incognito. Cadavers grow from my goatee. Look, I sparkle with shit, with wishbones. My nickname is Glue Me. Take my face of stink bombs, my star-spangled banner of hot dogs. Take my beer can junta, my reptilian ass of footprints, and approach me through life, approach me through death, approach me through my widow's peak, through my split ends, my asthmatic laugh. Approach me through my wash rag, half ankle, half elbow. Massage me with your camphor tears. Salute the patina and concrete of my rat-tail wig, face up, face down, piss into the bite of our handshake. I am New York City, my skillet-head friend, my fat-bellied comrade. Citizens, break wind with me.
Words are very musical. There's nothing more to say about that. That's it. Words are musical. I mean, there is the word, the sound of the voice. And, you know, what, and your attitude, the attitude you're putting on top of it.
Everywhere drums. Drums. Everywhere drums. Drums that remain to booster thighs in its radar, in its thump of a bass without being beggar. Sunlight, midnight, having to be barfly, having to be bullfrog, having to be bagworm, having to be bird call, having to be banjo, having to be bongo, having to be pit-pat, having to be rubbed up, having to be rat-tat, having to be drum roll, having to be drums, drums, burnt drums to clear the skin among dreams, flint of antibiotic dawn, potash and cinnamon sperms rising with an algebra of swamp drums, no longer Pyrex teeth, topaz excrement, angular nightmares, no longer axe-shaped lips, pierced cortin buttocks at the bottom of fermented mud drums, drums flowing with a mask of tornadoes, pickup band holding spirals of whiplash in his bric-brac, in its eye fold of mashed tendons, rimless springs, entrances funneled with catafalques of embroidered signal drums, drums made from rivers, made from a multiplication of dance steps, made from catfish skulls in a tongue's embrace, made from a rosette of orange rosin cradle cap, with impulse spotted like seclusion, and revolution decorating its drum with memory grease made from Nat Turner's body. Drums preoccupied in cheeks of ancestors, drums twirling into footprints, into snare drums, into shoeshine rags, the dust on those hides, on those reeds, blowing into street octaves of liberation drums, of membranes close to the sun's memoirs and life duck of this Brillo atmosphere, drums the size of flea bites, drums that are fly heads, cork and plantain drums, base oil drums, and flannel flame reeves of iridescent toenail drums, everywhere drums. everywhere drums. Drums brushing whiskers of imagination into ink ripples of compelling pompadours. Drums grinding into steel, silver wires out of nostril bells embalmed with images, inoculating drums into feet spikes of new canoes and new patterns of new hurricanes, drumming with red palms of passion, drumming with villages in Mozambique, drumming with uncombed look of a message moving through heartbeats of 6 female drums. Everywhere drums, drums of acrobatic wombs, of bladders and trumpets engulfed in a drum of opening elbows, the alto wind of sapling drums, fluorescent drums of benzene marshes, barracuda drums and asphalt drums, of nipple star drums, of hunger drums, of drums indexed between ovums, between floral ligaments and the rhythm of rickets drumming into a hollow of blues, baritone callous on rainbow covenant of pickled heart drums, hooked up through pours of pimento, through ovations of bloated gills, babbling gorda drums holding feathers of thumps in a coil of favelas, drums, the frequencies in position, drums, the sulfurated humidity of brooding rolls, broken pistons and cockpits of drums, remaining with pablum, with fluorine, with city whistles and forks entering drums of borax and wild hares, turbo-jetted throat drums, chrome-studded fangs of stomping stampedes into tom-tom diaphragms of black diamond pearl drums, everywhere drums, everywhere drums. Peninsula of my berserkness drum, axle of my hydraulic cough drum, diatonic drums, crazy bone of my hyenic laughter drum, thrill of a triad of electro drums, drums in ruvescent blades of Roxbury wind drums, tall, cool, fine drums, cry drums, scream drums, dream interpretation of jungle spells and tenement fire drums, searching through the buckeye drums, reaching for washboards of African blood drums, laughing drums, emerging drums, drums whispering, drums climbing, drums migrating into petals and moves of finger-snapping tambourine drums, brick drums, crawfish drums, drums of new belches, drums with old iodine, undulating armpit drums, talking drums, cubano drums, iroko drums, sparrow leg strokes on tongue-tied drums, opal pool cues, groundnut pyramids, hey, pee-wee from Panama drums, sanukade, Sanukade and my wide-mouthed paradiddles of Odupwe drums, and shaganaga, shaganaga, shaganaga drums, and those bragging drums of sparkling cans, and these homebrew tear-jerking drums, and this bong-bong deep in the cowbell of Zimbabwe drums, and staccato-beating drums crossing the Limpopo, crossing death drums, fork-skin drumming against drums, drums, fierce drums, growling drums, roaring drums, echo drums over mojo, whoop whooping drums out of cuckoo kahooka duka drums, ear drums, kicking drums, Wolof drums, drums made of dynamite, drums made from elephant yelps, Fulani drums, Spawn drums, God drums, drums of new juniflips, drums of ancient Mardi Gras, Fanti drums, Ashanti drums, Sanufu drums, and my indigo lips smacking kunga drums, tightening drum rhythms into mush-mouth rhythms, childbirth rhythms, Igbo godhouse rhythms, melancholy bellies crossed in a knife of rhythms from Baba's calabashes, of rattling rather rhythm drums to drums of brass cymbals of drums, dazzling with hummingbirds, with guava seeds, with cowrie shells, with cobalt and uranium and mandingos on the road to Kokomo drums, everywhere drums, spit drums from Odudawa drums, everywhere drums, domo, 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 domo drums, Oduwa drums, everywhere drums, everywhere drums, 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 everywhere drums. Cultural Operations 1992. The fishmongers are trying to sell fish, ironmongers trying to sell iron. Poets are having beautiful springtime daughters. A sculptor is walking around astonished that he's 55. A painter overdoses on fumes from a pizza parlor. 8-year-old boys are on stage holding their crotches and rapping about I'm making love to my baby, while armed Renamo bandits who murder playmates, rape little girls, turn kids into killers, and force families to cook and eat remains of dead relatives are calling themselves heroic freedom fighters. and the white South African government wants to give up the word apartheid without giving up the gold, the army, and the real estate. And the new judge is showing his hairy teeth to the Supreme Court as the European Economic Community gang up to keep racism in his body of segregated cash machines. And it's Operation Same Old Bullshit. Operation Same Old Right-Wing Multinational Think Tank Manipulation of History, Geography, and Information. Operation Out-of-Shape Generals, still talking war and licking plates in the cafeteria. Operation Desert Dumbness. Operation Army for Hire. Operation Pop Star, still looking like a walking flophouse. Operation Thieves, still giving music awards and patting each other on the back for stealing and imitating their asses off. Operation What Does It Matter? As long as the mob gets theirs and the queen gets hers and the ex-slaves continue to pay tribute and the colonies continue to pay rent and the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank stay intact and there are no mass unruly defaultations and no reorganizational plans of advancement on front burner of an urban rebellion, and as long as we act as silly and mediocre and corrupt and greedy and repressed as we are programmed to act, and don't explode and globalize that explosion into a redistribution of all there is to redistribute, then everything remains what it is. And children, you'd better hold on to your balls, because it's Operation Deforestation, Operation Deprivation, Operation Privatization, Operation Falsification, Operation Contamination, Operation Marginalization, Operation Militarization, Operation Politicization, Operation Subordination, Operation Toxification, Operation Destabilization, Operation Termination, Operation. Well, don't write another word about wanting to write another word. It's useless. The windows are filthy, the instruments contaminated, the smell of someone entering you in shoes covered with turkey shit is here. And what can you say? This is not a great performance. Today is tomorrow. I poot on your fax, I piss on your Xerox. These New York City pigeons, cooing in the air shaft are responsible for me stumping my toe, spraining my ankle, and getting sick on ammonia fumes. That pigeon roosting on the clothesline stole my nightgown. Those pigeons on the street lamp made me feel foolish while riding in a black car completely splattered with their gray and white poo-poo. These New York City pigeons are not calm like pigeons of Oxalá in Brazil and do not croon like doves of Zimbabwe. New York City pigeons moan strange, low, mournful, quivering, cancer-like moans mixed with hungry hyena barks and gulping lost of the forest cries. New York City pigeons are not relaxed like pigeons sunning at Marcel Duchamp's swimming pool in San Francisco. New York City pigeons flap viral feather fungus dust from wings into faces, then sit on steps vocalizing and waiting for the death of mankind. New York City pigeons are not content like pigeons posing for photos on arms of men in Plaza of Caracas. New York City pigeons will lounge on ledges and murmur profanity all day. Will fight for fucking space in the mating season, shit on air conditioners, and wipe their asses on windows while big cockroaches suck sucrets in the dark. New York City pigeons are not sitting quietly on bicycle seats looking at tourists like the pigeons in the Peace Memorial Park of Hiroshima. New York City pigeons roll their pearly eyes, inflate their throats, and defecate on the shoulders of pedestrians. New York City pigeons have no love for crumb-throwing pigeon lovers, and no year of the pigeon is celebrated. At least not for these New York City pigeons.
I know that some of my work is confrontational. It's not meant to be confrontational, but since I'm a very open person, it is what it is, and I'm going to take in whatever comes to me. And that's just how I see a reading. I don't really try to fix it. In that I'm not thinking for the audience, they're thinking for themselves. I'm creating, they're recreating whatever I have created, they are recreating at the moment, and I'm totally open to whatever happens.
Dreams. I close my eyes, miss the right train, board the wrong bus, get lost, get drunk, rub down in cactus juice, dress up in wild turkey feathers, walk with voodoo priest into horrible charcoal mist of a government assassination building. I clear my throat, scratch my belly, drop into dream of deflated whales, into sockets of inflamed cobras. My thighs are fly swatters of dead flies, my forehead a tuning pipe of unmelodious pinging, my uterus an enlarged ball of electric piranhas. I move, and the hole in my rug gives birth to a transparent river of crocodiles. I stand on head of a hippo to check out the tornado of musical instruments. A sadness enters my chest. I scream, I swallow, I moan, I hold smoke in my navel, spit ink into my imaginary microphone fist. I whisper, I cough, I see my desk and papers gone, my passport torn and crushed, my tennis shoes frozen in ice. A half-mad woman with baby says she's Ogotomele, and boom, an abrupt change of pitches. Dark cave of talking rocks, enormous bed of snoring camels, house of wounded skunk, 3 clocks speaking an old outspoken eagle-like squawks in the stomach of an unsatisfied bank teller on fire, and the midget says imagination smiles like a fat prostitute, and the waitress swears that she has the meaning of life and death wrapped in 4 plastic baggies. And I grin and drink white lightning mixed with fried cabbage, bury myself like a frog in soil, hear intoxicated ancestors talking backward. And there are yellow cows with broken hooves dangling against the sky, men with alligator meat packed on their knees, women with dream policies between teeth, horses with ripped ligaments in pockets. I sit, I watch, I search my speech impediment for discharging passengers. I invent the swelter in one nostril. I leap for air like dolphins. I turn loose, ritual of turning loose on sandbags, my flesh waiting to be invaded by cold-blooded lizards, my fish-stained napkin ready for confiscation, my empty shoes available for adoption, the ghost in my hair stinking. Adupwe. Adupwe means thank you in the Yoruba language in Nigeria. And this was written for a great poet by the name of Nicholas Guillen, who was the national poet of Cuba, and he died in 1989. Nicholas Guillen, the poetry of Nicholas Guillen, poetry dedicated to his 2 selves, his 2 sides, poetry in half notes, in 8th notes, in 6/8 time, poetry moving backward and forward like war dances, poetry doing the rah-rah in an African vocabulary, poetry of Nicholas Guillen, Nicholas banjo guitar Imbira Guillen, improvising like the great instrument he is, in Yoruba, in Spanish, in Son, not exotic, but Zydeco, not Miami, but Havana, not tweet, but Mau. Adupwe to the man from Camagüey. Adupwe. This morning I went into the Paris of his poetry and came out with poets clinking glasses to Nouveau Beaujolais at Roquet's. I pushed into favela of his poetry and emerged with carnival costumes from 100-year celebration of the abolition of slavery. I looked through his blunt poetry and saw exiles smiling like rusty bulldozers and acting like disjointed chiefs of staff, like broken stags roaming in Everglades of khaki teeth and clandestine scrotum. I walked through Seance House of his poetry and came upon a fiesta sizzling in the bubble chamber of Aztec clouds. I dived into political content of his poetry and discovered mysterious caves with odors of rotting imperialist dust. I looked at shell-lined pelvis of his poetry and saw infragreen heat of human capacity snaking down through underground galaxy of atomic clocks. I moved into stamina of his poetry and returned with boxing gloves smelling like Santeria shrines. I ran along the malecon of his poetry and found a poverty imbued with the power to drive straight through a northern Frente Frio. I stood in stadium of his staccato yelping poetry and heard messages coded and covered with drumheads from Oyo. And I said, a dupe, Nicholas Guillen. A dupe way for the cavalcade of leaves and moaning doves and regalia of punching bags. A dupe way for the musky cyclones in bolero jackets and smoke-filled consultation of your groomer trees. A dupe way for the call and response of collaborating oceans and the rooster juice splashed on feet steeped in Roomba motivations. A dupe way for the great poetic confrontations of Nicholas Guillen. A dupe way. Determination belongs to Guillen. Revolutionary thought belongs to Guillen. Solidarity belongs to Guillen. Gullah Efek Ewe Fula Fulani Tweet belongs to Guillen. Mende Mandingo Muisian Bandu Suk belongs to Guillen. Boomba La Kunga Boomba belongs to Guillen. Nigrismo, Socialismo belongs to Guillen. Completeness of life in poetry belongs to Guillen. Nicholas banjo guitar in Guillen, digging up roots and making his mark, breaking those chains and making his mark, mixing up rhythms and making his mark, talking to his people and making his mark, working with his work and making his mark. Nicholas banjo guitar in Guillen, making his mark. Rape. What was Inez Garcia supposed to do for the man who declared war on her body? The man who carved a combat zone between her breasts? Was she supposed to lick crabs from his hairy ass? Kiss every pimple on his butt? Blow hot breath on his big toe? Draw back the corners of her vagina and hee-haw like a California burro? This being wartime for Inez, she stood facing the knife, the insults, and her own smell drying on the penis of the man who raped her. She stood with a rifle in her hand, doing what a Defense Department will do in times of war. And when the man started grunting and panting and wobbling forward like a giant hog, she pumped lead into his 300 pounds of shaking flesh, sent it flying to the Virgin of Guadalupe, then celebrated Day of the Dead Rapist Pump. And just what the else was she supposed to do? And what was Joanne Little supposed to do for the man who declared war on her life? Was she supposed to tongue his encrusted toilet stool lips, suck the numbers off of his tin badge, choke on his claptrap balls, squeeze on his nub of rotten maggots and sing, God bless America, thank you for fucking my life away? This being wartime for Joanne, she did what a Defense Department will do in times of war. And when the piss-drinking, shit-sniffing guard said, I'm gonna make you wish you were dead, black bitch, come here, Joanne came down with an ice pick in the SWAT freak motherfucker's chest. Yes, in the fat neck of that racist policeman, Joanne did the dance of the ice picks. And once again, from coast to coast, house to house, we celebrated Day of the Dead Rapist Pump. And just what the else were we supposed to do?
There are a lot of edges. Edges could be some very mysterious, isolated spots in the world. I mean, you have the edges of rivers, you have the edges of oceans, you have, these are the places where you walk, these are places where you go to be alone. You are alone. But there's something about when you put cutting edge and that becomes an art term. And I think it sort of implies that you are being very aggressive about being yourself, and that might put you in confrontation with something that is not quite on the edge, or it is a device used for conversation. But edges can be very mysterious places in the world.
Everybody wants to be somebody. Everybody wants to be somebody on a magazine cover. On a magazine cover. Everybody wants to be somebody on television. 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 Everybody wants to be somebody in the mouth of someone, someday, some way in the USA. In the USA. Everybody wants to be somebody, but nobody wants to struggle to be somebody. Nobody wants to suffer to be somebody. Everybody wants to be somebody if somebody is someone, but nobody wants to be no one if no one is nobody. Not in the USA, not in the world today, because everybody wants to be famous. Famous. Everybody wants to be somebody famous, but nobody needs it. Nobody needs it. Everybody wants it, and everybody should be recognized as something. Everybody has the right to be something, but nobody wants to just be something. Everybody wants to be something famous. Famous, but nobody needs it. Nobody needs it. You know, I'm cheerful and optimistic. Even though I have this radioactive cloud above my head, I'm cheerful and optimistic. Even though my reproductive rights are threatened, I'm cheerful and optimistic. Even though I have toxic sludge on my Christmas shoes, I'm cheerful and optimistic. Even though my confirmation dress is such a mess in this acid rain, I'm cheerful and optimistic. So cheerful, so optimistic. I'm cheerful and optimistic. Even though I eat purple dioxin king crab legs from Exxon, Alaska, I'm cheerful and optimistic. Even though the self-appointed saints of our time, St. Jonas of Savimbi, St. Joseph Michel Francois of Haiti, and St. Gotcha of Beausoleil are sprinkling us with their filthy holy water of human destruction, I'm cheerful and optimistic. Even though I'm having polluted fish for dinner tonight, I'm cheerful and optimistic. Even though the clones are devoted to cloning themselves, I'm cheerful and optimistic. I'm cheerful and optimistic like my computer. So cheerful, so optimistic, so cheerful, so optimistic. Thank you. Thank you.